When was your first time in space?
STS-129, Space Shuttle Atlantis.
Years ago, we heard from the NASA astronauts who were stranded in space for 9 long months.
Tonight, astronauts Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore are back on Earth after their 8-day mission that turned into more than 9 months in space.
I can tell you, laying on your back for 3 hours-ish after you get strapped in and the countdown's going. Somebody coined this phrase, I don't remember who it was, I heard it from first, but you're literally leaving the planet. And at the time, when I launched on the Space Shuttle, I was the 505th person in the history of human spaceflight to leave the planet. When you separate from the external tank, water vapor separates from the tank, crystallizes into ice, and there are thousands of diamonds floating out the window. The sun's behind us, so it's coming this way. These diamonds are out there.
Also tonight, the head of NASA says the agency risked the lives of 2 astronauts who were stuck on the space station for months, saying mission managers should have never let them fly. I know you remember these 2, Sonny and Butch.
Did Boeing know about the helium leak before launch?
Yes, it did. We have 8 manifolds, and one of them had a very, very small leak. There is debate on this, but I'll say it anyway, realizing that some people may push back. A leak is a leak. Even if it's super little bitty tiny leak, a leak is a leak, right?
Elon just rescued 2 astronauts that Biden left floating around in space for 9 months. The SpaceX Dragon splashed down in the Gulf of America during the 5.
I applaud people like Elon Musk that says we're going to figure out a way to do it, because the only way we're ever going to do it is to have that attitude. Know everything and perform it well, right? Have that attitude, we're going to figure it out. And then look out my right window, and there's the Earth in the most magnificent, brilliant colors I could ever imagine. And I'm like, Lord, why me?
Butch Wilmore, a recently retired NASA astronaut and retired U.S. Navy captain, a combat naval aviator and test pilot with over 8,000 flight hours and 663 carrier landings. One of the rare astronauts to have flown in 5 different spacecraft: Space Shuttle, Soyuz, International Space Station, Starliner, and Crew Dragon. A total of 464 consecutive days spent in space. 286 of those days came unexpectedly and are the subject of your new book, Stuck in Space: An Astronaut's Hope Through the Unexpected. A husband, a father, and most importantly, a Christian.
We lost a thruster. So try to describe this briefly. You've got thrusters located orthogonal on the spacecraft. Top, bottom, starboard, and port. And there's 7 thrusters at each location. He's the one who had us there.
You don't sound like you were actually that stressed.
Why would I get stressed?
Because you're stuck in space for an extra 9.5 months.
You know, I'll tell you this, Shawn. I've learned I'm not going to fret over things that I can't control. Philippians 4, 6, and 7. Be anxious for nothing, but everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known unto God, and the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will keep your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. When you get in situations, fear can be detrimental. It can be detrimental to your performance. And this is part of what happened with Starliner when I got to that point. When I got all these missions that I flew, when I get 20 miles south of the border, there was apprehension. But when I got 20 miles south of the border, gone. Focus. This is a job. I got my responsibility. On this mission, I'm going in country alone. There's fear. I've been in country, lights are out. You don't see the other airplanes at night, but you know they're there, mutually supportive. But this time, I'm going in alone. Wow. Because my flight lead told me to. And he said, just drop your bombs B-52 style. B-52 means straight level. Whatever, altitude 27, 23,000 feet, whatever it was, just drop them, come on, then come to the ship.
And there we do see Crew 9, some happy waves, smiles all around back on Earth.
This classification is based on the NASA Procedural Requirements document, NPR. And in the NPR, it talks about controllability of the spacecraft as part of the assessment of, is it a high visibility close call, or is it a type A mishap?
Starliner has design and engineering deficiencies that must be corrected, but the most troubling failure revealed by this investigation is not hardware. It's decision-making and leadership that if left unchecked, could create a culture incompatible with human spaceflight.
if the NPR says it has to do with controllability of the spacecraft, who controlled the spacecraft? That would be me. Don't you think you'd ask the guy that was controlling the spacecraft about the controllability of the spacecraft if you're trying to make an assessment of classification? You'd talk to that guy, right? Wouldn't you?
I would.
Yeah, this is part of the sadness of processes and culture and all that they didn't.
Wow.
And I even voiced that up the chain. I'm like, how do you make this call without talking to me? I mean, not that I'm special, but I'm the guy that was on the controls. How do you make that assessment?
What was the answer?
It was the wrong answer.